So, yeah, hello everyone. My name is Maksym Brilenkov, and as already was mentioned, I'm a PhD student here in the University of Oslo. And today I'm going to talk about Quiet and how does it fit into the Cosmoglobe and to the Commander Free framework. But before I start, I would like to point out that this is an overview talk in which I would describe what Quiet is, what was done before us in Quiet collaboration, and as well as our plans and ideas on how to conduct the further analysis. So everything which I would say right now would be like strictly theoretical. So with this in mind, let me start. So Quiet stands for Q&U imaging experiment, which primary purpose was the detection of B modes of polarization. And it is a ground-based experiment, which is depicted here, a picture of which you can see on the right here, which was deployed in Chinantor Plateau in Chile, and which was observing the sky from October 2008 and December 2010 in two distinct bands, namely Q, or 43 gigahertz centered, and W, or 95 gigahertz centered. And the main detectors were hexagonal arrays of coherent amplifiers, which were composed of so-called modules. So, for example, Q band had 19 of such modules, and W band had 91 of such modules. So looking in this slide, we can see on the left the picture of the interior of this telescope, and this is it had a Mizoguchi Dragonian structure with the two mirrors which would reflect the light into the receiver array. And as I was mentioned, each array was composed of the modules, and each module had four detectors inside. So on the right you can see the 90 gigahertz chip interior and exterior of it, and to the right side there is a 40 gigahertz chip. So the main advantage of these detectors is that they are able to detect both amplitude and the phase of the incoming light. So essentially they are able to detect both Q and U Stokes parameters. So in Quiet, two detectors were detecting U, and two were detecting Q. And so regarding the sky coverage, Quiet was observing the sky in the so-called constant elevation scans, meaning that the instrument went pointing to the leading edge of the sky, and apart from among the three degrees of freedom which Quiet had, which is decangle, elevation, and azimuth, two of them were constant, and Quiet was performing periodic motions in azimuth. And as a result of these observations, in total in 6 patches of the skies were observed, 2 for foreground centered on the galactic plane here, and 3 at the bottom and 1 at the top here. All these patches were, well, roughly 45 by 45 degrees in the sky. So as a result of this almost, well, roughly 2 years of observation, the set of time order data was produced, which is called level 0 data, which these were coming straight from the satellite, from the telescope, excuse me, and they were written to the Blu-rays or DVD discs and sent to the Carnegie Institute for Cosmological Physics, where they were unable to download as level 1 raw data, and then this data was double demodulated to find the start and end of each scan, and also to convert from ADC to voltages here. That's why so eventually the data set, which was 3 terabytes and 15 terabytes in size, were very much reduced in size. And then further, this data set was calibrated by known sources, and all this information were stored in the FITS files. That's why the data set was slightly increased in size. So for Commander, which was already pointed out before in previous talks, we use the standardized data format, which uses Huffman compression. So So this data set, level 3 data set, would be further reduced because we will compress pointings and flags, for instance. But we don't really know how much will it be reduced. Maybe it will be several orders magnitude, maybe not. But looking into the time streams and looking into the power spectra here, we see that that the noise profile is very much of looks like 1/f profile, although there are slight deviations in beam power here, and these are due to the quiet being contaminated by atmospheric motions, by side lobe pickups, and some spikes in electronics. So I remember there was a question about atmospheric contamination. So what people in quiet collaboration did, they applied filters to filter this out. In particular, two types of filters were implemented. One type was apodized filter, which is a bandpass filter with smooth edges. This one, as far as I understand, actually removed the atmospheric contamination, and also azimuthal filter, which was used to produce the level 3 calibrated data here as well. So so there were officially two quiet pipelines, the pseudo-CL estimator, and another one was based on maximum likelihood approach, but I depicted here the maximum likelihood one because this was the one which was led by University of Oslo, and basically it's exactly what we are used to with the addition of apodized filter profile here, and this was solved by the dense matrix operations and packages such as LAPAC, BLAS, etc. But this is of course correct, but this is not optimal in a sense that exactly because we're using dense matrix operations, manipulations, because the covariance matrices we produce are very, very big. So our proposal, our approach, first approach is actually you do almost exactly the same thing, but instead use conjugate gradient solver for an unbiased map. So this would basically result in using samples instead of the dense covariance matrices to explore uncertainties, and it is generally faster and cheaper to implement. And another approach we would like to propose and implement is actually a more traditional beyond Planck one, which was already described here. But in an essence, in a nutshell, we would basically use correlated noise component to model or remove the unwanted filter modes. So, and as a result, you already saw this picture a couple of times today. We would like to have this joint pipeline, which was continuously analyze data sets starting from neural time order data and finishing by the parameter estimation, cosmological parameters. So as a result, we should get something like this. So this is the maps produced by quiet collaboration, and these are G2 galactic field maps. So on the left, we can see the maps for Q, U, and P Stokes parameters, and for LFI, WMAP, and quiet, where LFI and WMAP were scaled to the quiet frequency and also filtered out by the weighted operator F here. So what is the most prominent about these maps is that all of them are having the same, observing the same large scale structures, namely the galactic plane here with the negative galactic center, although quiet seems to contain less amount of noise. And if we we as quiet collaboration did already quad the maps, like for instance quiet and WMAP, we can see that it is very clean except for the edges where there is some noise appears due to the quiet being susceptible for so the signal to noise ratio was lower on the edges for quiet, so with all this being said, our short-term plans now is actually start with the galactic fields and create two toy pipelines, well, both in Python, and then gradually convert it into the commander free modules. And of course, as it was mentioned in the name of my talk, publicly analyzing, so we are planning to release TODs publicly as well. So as the summary on the conclusion, I would say that actually Quiet is a very good test bed for ground-based experiments. Why? Because it's relatively small, excuse me, as we saw it. It has a high signal to noise ratio. It has relatively low systematics, and also it has all these unwanted large-scale modes, as all other ground-based experiments have. And basically, what it can bring to Cosmoglobe, in our opinion, is the synchrotron polarization synchrotron constraints. It can also significantly reduce the polarization temperature to polarization leakage for Planck, for instance, and it also allows us to calibrate important global parameters for Planck. Once again, for instance, like bandpass parameters. So yes, and as already was mentioned before, we are planning to publicly release Quiet dataset. So with this being said, we are very grateful for European Horizon 2020 program for the funding. Thank you very much.